Gingrich, do you want to weigh in?
You didn't call me by name, but okay.
Speaker Gingrich.
Yeah, thank you. I believe the polls have consistently shown me to be neck and neck with Mitt here versus President Obama. And actually, I am leading him in some of the battleground states, leading both Governor Romney and President Obama, such as the battleground state of Iowa, which will be seriously in contention in 2012.
Governor Perry.
I'd just like to point out that while Mitt Romney here has been very consistent, when I joined the race, I immediately jumped to the top of the poll. And that just shows that everybody loves me. And that's how it's going to stay. So I am indeed the most selected.
All right, I want to ask you about what's happening. Okay. I have a couple other questions. So, Mr. Kane, you've never held office before. In today's political climate, is that an advantage or a disadvantage to your campaign?
That is an advantage of my campaign, because I'm the businessman who people are looking to. And in fact, even though I pulled out 3 weeks ago, a news article came out this morning that I, as Herman Cain, would haunt the Iowa caucus, and that many people would still vote for me in the Iowa caucus, even though I wasn't there. So even though I was gone for the past couple of weeks and I pulled out, I'm back in to show that people still have faith in me, even with these scandals that are proven false.
All right, Governor Perry, you've proposed having a part-time Congress. If Congress can't pass effective legislation full-time, what makes you think they will be better able to do their job with half the time?
Because when they have half the time, then they know that they have twice as much to get done. I mean, I can do math. So that's obviously how it's going to be better.
Congresswoman Bach, as an acting member of Congress today, do you take offense to Governor Perry's claims that Congress ought to be given less time?
No, I actually agree with them. And the reason why is because this will motivate my fellow leftist congressmen and women to actually get on the tab and do what they need to do.
All right, interesting. Now, let's move to our final round of questioning, which is regarding foreign policy. Senator Santorum, throughout this campaign, you have contended that Iran is a great threat to the United States. Specifically, what must the United States do to prevent Iran from attaining a nuclear weapon?
Well, that's a very good question. And Iran, when we look at Iran, it's not just the government that we have to look at. There's also the terrorists. And that's one, and I am not willing to call it a war on terror because terror isn't ideal. And so with that in mind, they kind of merge Iran and terrorism. And we have people who have stated that they would like to see America off the map. However, in today's climate, we don't know whether they have the ability to do that or will. So I support bringing in people who will be undercover and investigating more closely to see whether Iran will constitute a threat such that we should send in troops in the future. But at this time, that action is not necessary.
Another controversial part of your campaign has been your advocacy of profiling, especially at airports. How do you think the American people will weigh in on that subject?
Well, another thing that I've also stated several times in my campaign is that people have a right to pursue their own happiness. But when their own happiness gets in the way of other people's lives, we have to draw the line. And with profiling, that's the point where we have to evaluate the security, even though a few people may not be happy about it. It will help the security of the United States as a whole.
Mr. King, can Muslims be profiled?
Well, it depends. Several months ago I said they should. Now I said they don't. The fact of the matter is that Muslims are just people, and we shouldn't discriminate against Muslims, just like we should discriminate against black people, because I'm a black person.
Congressman Paul, how do you weigh in on this issue of profiling?
If I'm president, I don't care. I'm the government. Leave it to the states. The states can decide this for themselves. The government, the federal government, shouldn't have any say in this. We should give the states freedom of religion to decide what they want on this issue. If I'm president, I will get rid of the federal government's power on this issue. I will give it back to the state and local governments so that they can decide.
All right, Congresswoman Bach, in previous debates, you've defended U.S. aid to Pakistan. In light of their harboring of Osama bin Laden, how can we ensure a more compliant Pakistan if we're not willing to threaten them by taking away their aid?
I've actually changed my position on the subject, and I'm now willing to withdraw aid from Pakistan.
All right, Governor Perry, you were in a disagreement with Congresswoman Bachmann about this issue of foreign aid previously. You advocate taking the United States foreign aid budget down to zero and then making each country come in and make their pitch to justify their aid. How do you think that this will affect United States relations with the rest of the world?
I think it will make relations better because then we will really find out who our real friends are and what they can do for us before we just send out random amounts of monies to these random countries, some of which are supporting and harboring terrorists. Like Pakistan is still, we don't even know, he could still be harboring Osama bin Laden. So,
Governor Hunter, you have substantial international experience. How do you weigh in on this issue of foreign aid?
Specifically to Pakistan.
Just foreign aid as a concept, specifically Governor
Okay.
Perry's proposal
All right.
of zeroing out aid.
Now, as far as Pakistan goes, I think that we can and should legitimately give them foreign aid because they've shown that they have a legitimate counter-terror effort, and that's something that we've been fighting for. And so I think that when a country shows that it has our best interest in mind, that's when we should be willing to give them any type of foreign aid, and Pakistan has shown that.
I'd just like to say that counter-terror efforts obviously suck.
All right. Governor, President Obama recently made the decision to pull all combat troops out of Iraq and scale down the mission in Afghanistan. Is that decision the correct one in promoting America's national security?
Day one in office, I would repeal Obama Afghanistan. Day two in office, I would inform you by mail that actually Obama was wrong and we should have the states do it. I believe that the states should decide for themselves our foreign international affairs.
Do you think there's been a collective action issues associated with getting the 50 states to work together to advance?
We can feel.
That is very useful. Mr. King, there has been a recent push in the United Nations for Palestinian statehood. Should the United States recognize Palestine as a sovereign nation, and what implications would that have for our relationship with Israel?
Well, first I'd like to say that we should not recognize Palestine as a nation, and President Obama was wrong to accept this. But second, I'd like to say that I'm running for president, and I don't care about these little issues. What we need to be talking about is what the people care about, the economy. And once again, I have the greatest record on the economy. When I become president, I have to deal with Palestine. Sure, I'll deal with them. But right now, it's not the biggest issue on the table.
Speaker Gingrich, in a recent statement, you claim to be a historian. In a recent statement, you said that the quote-unquote Palestinian state never existed historically. Do you believe that inflammatory statements such as this might cause problems of international relations were you to be elected president?
Well, such statements could have the potential to cause inflamed relations with non-states like the Palestinians. But we have to look back at the origins of the Israeli-Palestinian state. This land has belonged to Israel for generations, and it should remain with Israel and not become an internationally recognized state. Don't talk to her, I'm still talking. I'm the speaker, you are a congresswoman, I am the rank. So we have to recognize Israel's right to the land and stand by our only major democratic ally in the Middle East. Now you can go, Mommy.
I like to say that we're missing the whole subject on this. The whole problem is that with President Obama, and we must make him a one-term president. Because we currently have a president who devalues our special relationship with our allies, while on the other hand, he fumbles with reset buttons and babies radical Islam. What we must do is we must strengthen our relationship with Israel. President Obama just recently told Israel that it has to give up its right to defensible borders in order to appease the Palestinians. That would be the same Palestinians who don't even recognize Israel as a state. We must solve this. The main problem is President Obama, not what Speaker Gingrich says.
All right, before I give the candidates an opportunity to provide a closing statement, I would like to ask a follow-up question on that issue to Congressman Paul. Congressman Paul, do you think the United States should leave in place this kind of unconditional support for Israel?
No, not at all. I think that we need to get out of the affairs of foreign countries. I don't think that we should be part of any international organization such as NATO or the United Nations or the WTO. I think we should pull out of all of those, and that the United States should defend itself and let other countries defend themselves. We're only hurting other countries by putting our noses in their business. We should mind our own business, and we should defend ourselves instead of trying to defend everyone else.